There's a new housing bill, remarkably put forward by Elizabeth Warren and Tim Scott. Speaking of left and right getting together, and it basically talks about building more housing and preventing big corporations from being able to buy residential real estate. Now that's in our populist plank, and so I'm surprised to see it getting so much approval in the Senate, as it passed very, very easily. I think only 9 people voted against it. But now all of a sudden it looks like Trump, who said he wanted it, might not sign it because he says, right or wrong, that I want to do the SAVE Act first. And it's running into some issues in the House. So curious what you think about it, Representative Green. Do you like this bill to basically try to bring down housing prices?
Oh yeah, I want to stop all of these big equity companies from buying up all these homes. I've got 3 kids and they're all in their 20s, and that's the generation I care about. And young people today, they don't think they're ever going to be able to afford to buy a home. And the reason why home prices have been driven up so high is these big investment and equity companies that have bought up these homes, caused bidding wars, and made it impossible, blocking out young home buyers from being able to buy their first home. And that's so absurd. So I fully support blocking those equity companies from buying up single family homes and let buyers, individual buyers, be able to have a chance to buy their first home. There's another thing at play there, Jane, that I want to bring up. You know, in Washington, D.C., what I learned is it's always the donors that are the ones that they get their back scratched and they get it their way. And so while I think that bill was incredibly popular, we saw, like you said, 90 votes in the Senate. That's amazing, from the left and the right coming together to help Americans to be able to buy homes. What we're seeing, the pushback in the White House, is probably on behalf of these big equity firms and big donors. And this is what we've seen from the administration, is the donors are getting their way and not the American people. And that's something I have a big problem with. I would rather see the American people be put first, and these big donors and big equity firms get told, you know, get back in your place and let the American people buy a home. So I always think it's something more something more behind the scenes when an important issue like this is getting blocked.
Yeah, so Nina, look, this is definitely a proposal that the left wing agrees with. In fact, as we're all saying here, the vote was 89-9, but magically it's not going to pass anyway. And so, that type of thing happens when Republicans are in charge and Democrats are in charge. So what's your sense of why this isn't passing, even though it's enormously popular?
Yeah, I mean, they playing games. I wish President Donald J. Trump would use his incredible power to stand up for the American people in the way that he ran. He ran on a populist plank. He ran on America first. It doesn't get any more America first than making sure that people can afford homes, which is part of the quote unquote American dream. But, you know, as the Congresswoman said, the owner donors, that's what I call them. The owner donors are going to have the final say. That in the Senate, and I wouldn't doubt that folks have meetings like this. We're gonna pass this in the Senate, but over in the House, we're gonna shake it up, and the owner donors ultimately get what they want. The ruling class ultimately gets what it wants, and everyday working class people of this country are left to suffer for. It is patently immoral, if you ask me. We have the power to spend billions of dollars a day on wars, but we won't end homelessness in the United States of America, which we could do in a heartbeat. Domestic tranquility, the last time I checked, is a thing. And Maslow hierarchy of needs is very clear about how people actually get to self-actualization within their lifetime. And having your base need of shelter and food and clothing, that is vitally important. So if the president truly wants to go down in history as being one of the greatest presidents, I mean, he'll tell you he's the greatest right now of all times ever lived and ever will live, then ensuring that this bill passed would be one step towards doing that.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to immigration next, where I suspect we're gonna have some significant disagreement. But last thing on this, so I thought that Trump's executive order on this was really good. I'm a little skeptical that the executive orders are ever meant in a real way. Unfortunately, my skepticism was buttressed, if you will, by Donald Trump statement in the State of the Union and what he said recently to Mike Johnson. So, Marjorie, I'm going to show you both of those things and then get your reaction. Let's watch the State of the Union comment on housing first.
And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem well, at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way.
So he's saying we are going to keep housing prices high because that's a positive thing for people who own homes. That's one way of looking at it. And he apparently told Mike Johnson, according to the New Republic, that, quote, no one gives an F about housing. So do you agree with the president there or no?
I completely disagree with the president. A lot of people give a strong F about housing, and rightfully so. I'm a small government conservative, and this is a situation where I think the government should completely stay out of it. I just saw a graph this morning where home sales are actually at 2008 crisis levels. And I've owned a construction company for over 20 years. I remember 2008 very well because it was a very difficult time for construction, for home builders, for housing, for real estate. This comes on the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac absolute crisis. And of course, many Americans suffered through that and lost their homes through bankruptcy, and it was terrible. So no, I completely disagree with the president, who happens to be a billionaire, and I think that's why he can't really relate to the American people and how important it is to the American people to be able to buy their home. But I think it should be left to the market of home values. And if there's a lot of homes for sale on the market and they're not selling, well, guess what? Those home prices have got to come down so that these houses start selling and the American people can afford them.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.